After passing away and entering the underworld, 100 generations of virtuous people aspired to become immortals. However, due to insufficient merit points, they had to first seek a position in the underworld and become a new civil servant. They went to various small worlds to fulfill the wishes of the petitioners, earn merit, and make a living. Just boss, it seems that you are too persistent about the protagonist's golden finger. Male lead. Queen, do you think my worship posture is standard enough? Female lead. Queen, do you think our attitude of begging for mercy is sincere enough? Tian Dao's father said, "Good girl, take a look and see if you have anything else you want. Tell Dad that he will find everything for you." Finally, her collection of golden fingers filled a small world. P.S. A true career-oriented and hardworking female lead who enjoys collecting gold fingers and buying. Space plus Tian Dao Dad cheat, strong is invincible, learning is endless. Taking a career path without a fixed male lead, the author will arrange some emotional scenes according to the plot needs, but they are all superficial and slightly skipped. Keywords of the novel. The Queen of Fast Wearing has a gold finger collection obsession without pop-ups. The Queen of Fast Wearing has a gold finger collection obsession. Download the full text, and read the latest chapters on the Queen of Fast Wearing's gold finger collection obsession. Chapter 1. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 1 in mid-June, in the evening, at the Jian family. As soon as Jian woke up, he felt sore and weak all over, like soaking in a hot spring, feeling dizzy from the heat. He raised his hand and touched his forehead, which was a bit hot, indicating that he had a fever. Struggling to sit up and look around, confirming that there was no one in the room, he lay down weakly and began to accept memories. Jian Jia, a first-class aristocratic and wealthy family in Shanghai, made a fortune by relying on various jewelry passed down from their ancestors. The group mainly deals in jewelry and luxury women's clothing, and its brand influence is among the top in China, making it a Fortune 500 enterprise. The Jian family has gone through 6 generations of family leaders, and it is now the 7th term for Jian Qingyao. Recently, these 2 family leaders have average abilities and are both the rulers of Shoucheng. In the modern era where the economy is rapidly changing and the country is flourishing, the Jian family is slowly showing a trend of decline. The previous generation of family members believed that their own and their son's intelligence was not enough and wanted their son to find a smart one to improve their genes. Therefore, Jian Qingyao married Lin Jishan, who had excellent academic performance since childhood in the Lin family. The Lin family is a prosperous generation, with 3 children and 4 daughters. As the biological daughter of the Lin family's eldest wife, Lin Jishan has been strictly demanded by Mrs. Lin since childhood. Perhaps she was pressed too hard. After marrying Jian Qingyao, Lin Jishan gradually let herself go, often flying around with her bodyguards and wandering around, even during her pregnancy. The young lady of the Jian family was born in a remote town like this, and her bag was even dropped by someone. 18 years later, Jian Wei became the top scorer in the college entrance examination, and with excellent academic performance and a pure and sweet appearance, she became a hot topic, becoming the most beautiful top scorer in the college entrance examination. Jian Wei was discovered by the Lin family's Jian family for her appearance resembling that of the Lin family's uncle, and subsequently discovered the true and false heirloom incident. And the original owner is the small cannon fodder of the cup in the story of the Jian family. Lin Jishan had a very strong reaction during pregnancy when she was pregnant with her second child, which was the original owner. She didn't feel very comfortable throughout the entire pregnancy from conception to giving birth, and there was also a lot of bleeding during the later stages of giving birth, causing her to almost lose her virginity. Finally, my husband Jian Qingyao had an affair during his pregnancy and almost had an illegitimate child. Therefore, since the birth of the original owner, Lin Jishan has never had a good face towards the original owner. She likes to ignore him and throws the original owner to the nanny as soon as she gives birth, leaving him completely out of sight. As the daughter expected to be born by the Jian family, the eldest son Jian Leilei's treatment is completely different from that of the original owner. That's Lin Jishan, who is afraid of melting in her mouth and flying in her palm. She wants stars every day and cannot give them to the delicate master of the moon. People are also spoiled to be very domineering and arrogant. Seeing that even the adults in the family don't treat the original owner well, they try their best to bully and make things difficult. Under the suppression of Jian Leilei, a young lady from the Jian family gradually becomes a humble and transparent person. In theory, the Jian family has wealth and power. Even if the original owner is ignored and not welcomed by the family, he will not die so miserably that he is filled with resentment. He would rather spend some merit to fulfill his wish for the taskmaster to come to this world. But the blame lies in the fact that true and false 1,000-gold fighting methods can bring disaster to the fish in the pond. She was an ordinary person who became a sacrifice in the battle between the two. After the true daughter Jian Wei returned, she disliked the fake daughter Jian Leilei, but also disliked the younger sister of the original owner, who was often overlooked in her daily life. Jian Lu was delighted to see Jian Wei enter Jane's job after graduating from university. She harbored resentment and dissatisfaction in her heart, and also wanted to make a name for herself. Relying on the power of the Jian family and her fiancé A Ning family, she flourished in the entertainment industry. Later, under the instigation of Ning Jiazhen, she introduced Zhao Luhua to the original owner. After the original owner and Zhao Luhua got married, they were instigated by Jian Leilei and requested Jian Qingyao to arrange for him to become a small manager in Jian's company. This incident further aroused Jian Qingyao's displeasure. Zhao Luhua saw that he could no longer pass through the original owner and sought benefits from the Jian family, exposing his domestic violence and promiscuity. After several unsuccessful attempts to seek help from the original owner, Zhao Qinghua became even more insane. Not only did he bring Shaoqing back home, but he also beat the original owner until he miscarried and died. Zhao Luhua, on the other hand, joined forces with Jian Leilei and Ning Jiazhen to take away the Jian family, and lived a happy life for a period of time. Until the end, Jian Wei urgently married the Chen family and joined forces to reclaim the Jian family. The ending of the story is that Zhen Qianjin and her husband Chen Yan, who were married together, developed feelings for each other over time and lived a happy and fulfilling life. Fake Qianjin died on her own, with a bad reputation. Lin Jishan paid to send her abroad for a leisurely journey to fulfill her mother-daughter relationship. After accepting the memories of the original body, it is easy to feel that one's heart is suffocated and wants to explode. These bastards are simply not human. Whether it is a true or false daughter, whether it's Ning Jiazhen or Zhao Luhua, whether it was Jian Qingyao or Lin Jishan, each of these individuals had a good outcome, except for the original owner who was tragically killed. Is Jian Wei wrong? Knowing that Jian Leilei was unhappy with her joining the company, she teamed up with Ning Jiazhen to try to seize the company and use Zhao Luhua's trickery. However, because she was jealous that the original owner could grow up in front of Jian's father and mother since childhood, she ignored her experiences. I don't even feel guilty at all, I just feel that the original owner is stupid like a pig, unable to be strong, unsure of choices, and doesn't know how to stop losses. It's just right. Is Jian Leilei wrong? Fight with Jian Wei, why involve the original owner? Knowing that the original owner in the Jian family is just a little transparent and doesn't have much effect, is it still necessary to use this move? Can't conscience hurt? Is Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan wrong? How can daughters be treated differently? Is an outsider better than the original owner for Jian Leilei? How on earth did you ignore the original owner's request for help and let him die? Raising without teaching, why give birth? Is there anything wrong with the original owner? The only mistake of the original owner is probably his poor fate. I was raised by a nanny since I was young, ignored by my parents, bullied by my sister, and never felt love. Gradually becoming gloomy and timid under cold violence, afraid to have one's own thoughts. Before experiencing the ambiguous longing that a young person should have, Jian Lele brought Zhao Luhua over and was bullied. He finally mustered the courage to seek help, but was hurt time and time again until his young death. And the people who hurt her are all living well one by one. You say, isn't this a bad fate? After accepting the memory, Jian still felt that his whole body was sore and weak, and after looking at the cold medicine on the bedside table for a while, he finally decided to buy a special effect medicine at the system mall. He always felt that the system produced better products. Open the system mall with mental power, open the medication category, skip various elixirs, therapeutic nutrient solutions, and find health medicines that can be used by ordinary people's bodies. It only took 1 merit point to buy a small bottle, and carefully read the instructions. There are enough 5 inside. A health pill can cure common illnesses, relieve pain, and even stop bleeding when ground into powder. It is an essential medicine for home and travel. She only spent 1 merit point to obtain this good medicine. It seems that the merit point is quite durable. You should know that she has a total of 10,000 merit points now. Yi Jian carefully poured out one, tried it, and it melted in the mouth with a slight sweetness. After eating it for a while, the headache and fever on the body improved. Yi Jian slightly moved his body, and the whole person felt so good that it was light and floating. If the medicine really cures the illness, it will take effect quickly. After trying the medicine, I was careful and received it in the space. After checking the time on the phone, it was 4:30 p.m. According to the original owner's memory, after a while, Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan will bring Jian Wei back. It is said that the family wants to have a lively meal together, which is called a reunion dinner. On this important day, the original owner just had a fever and fell asleep. He missed the meal, so he was disliked by everyone. Lin Jishan often told Lin Jishan about this, saying yes, he didn't love sisters, and put on a face to show others. The poor original owner was so feverish and confused that he didn't even have anyone to care about. The only one who cared about the original owner was the nanny who brought him up, and because Lin Jishan didn't like the original owner relying more on him than on her, he was dismissed. Regarding this, I simply say, he-he-da. My mother loves to fight tooth for tooth the most. There is a cycle of causality and retribution, and there will always be times when you suffer, a dead old woman who loves to be a demon. This time, after taking the system's special medicine, I couldn't be better off. I won't miss Jian Wei's home again at night, and Jian Lele will have a good time. Dong dong dong, Miss Air, Madam asked me to inform you that you can go downstairs for dinner now. The maid knocked on the door and, without waiting for Jian's consent, opened the door to deliver a message. Jian frowned and felt deeply displeased. The original owner is really an unpopular little pitiful person. Seeing no one supporting the original owner, a servant who looks at the owner's face and acts recklessly in front of the original owner can be so reckless. What's your name? Asked the simple question. The maid was taken aback and smiled, saying, Miss, just call me Xiaoli. With a cold snort, Xiaoli, do you still remember your identity? Who gave you the courage to enter my room without my permission? It's not like that, miss. I didn't mean to. Didn't you have a fever today? I thought you hadn't woken up yet, but I was worried about you for a moment, so I came in directly. The maid suddenly heard this questioning and quickly defended herself. Looking up at Yi Jian's increasingly icy face, I was so scared that a cold sweat broke out. A slight frown appeared on the simple eyebrows, and the impatience and anger on the face became increasingly apparent. According to you, are you doing this because you're worried about me? Yes, miss. Jian slammed the bedside table with force and said sternly, don't you think I'm a fool? Since you know I have a fever and I may not wake up so quickly, why didn't you come in to take care of me? What you say is quite pleasant. I know you look down on me and think I'm not liked by my parents, but that doesn't mean you can bully me and treat me like a fool. I will no longer be treated well by my parents. I am still the second miss of the Jian family, and I cannot tolerate you people to bully me. Do you understand? Jian Jian saw the maid's face gradually showing fear, repeatedly expressing her reluctance, and secretly laughing in her heart. Take it slow, before she's ready to leave home. It's not easy to go too far with these things that go against the grain and are being held high and stepped down. Forget it this time, there won't be another one. Although I don't have much ability, I can still do this small thing by begging my dad to kick you out when I see something unpleasant. Seeing that the simple anger seemed to have been vented, the maid's anxious and nervous mood gradually slowed down. It seems that after going back, we need to remind them that we can't do it like before anymore. After all, they are just servants. If Miss Eyre gets angry and really goes to find her husband, wouldn't they all have to leave? She can't bear to part with the high salary of the Jian family. She just shows a little respect for Miss Eyre's attitude. She doesn't need to be unhappy with the money, does she? As soon as Jian Jian went downstairs, he saw 4 people sitting on the sofa in the living room, chatting and laughing. Oh, it's really a loving family of 4. Mocking face. JPG, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 2. Mom and Dad, this is my biological sister. She looks really beautiful, especially with her appearance and charm. She really looks like an uncle. As soon as Jian Jian walked downstairs, she quickly stepped forward and sat next to Jian Wei, warmly greeting her. Jian Wei turned around and looked at the smiling little girl in front of her, with a slight hint of restraint. Is this her biological sister? She looks so beautiful, I envy her being able to grow up with her parents since childhood. Unlike her thinking of this, Jian Wei felt a little uncomfortable again. How could she be the daughter of her parents, but she was held the wrong way and suffered so many years for nothing? Lin Jishan originally interrupted Jian Wei's conversation as soon as she saw her, and she was a bit unhappy. After listening to her words, she looked back at Jian Wei's face. Hi. Isn't that right? Isn't this guy with a nose and eyes that look 7 or 8 points similar to her brother? Otherwise, it wouldn't have caught their attention and been recognized just by a few photos. This face looks fortunate at first glance. The more Lin Jishan thought about it, the happier she became. You girl, you can talk today. Mom, I'm telling the truth. Dad, are you? Deliberately ignored Jian Lele and in just a few words, created the illusion that they were the same family. Jian Wei saw how easy it was to give her face, and the first time she saw him, she stood by her side, both inside and outside the words. She felt a little better about the slight discomfort in Jian's heart. Jian Wei felt better, but Jian Lele was furious. Just as she was about to vent her anger, she was interrupted by an unknown butler and had to follow the crowd to the restaurant to start having dinner. Come to Vivi, try Aunt Lou's best sauce elbow. It's fragrant but not greasy, it's delicious. As soon as Lin Jishan sat down, she picked up her chopsticks and before she could take a bite of the food, she immediately began to pick it up from Jian Wei's bowl. Poor thing, look at this child's pale and emaciated appearance, it's really heartbreaking. The young lady of the Jian family has suffered a lot in the Wang family from childhood to adulthood. Jian Qingyao didn't speak, but the sweet and sour pork ribs sandwiched into Jian Wei's bowl showed his attitude. Jian Wei was deeply moved by this scene and her eyes instantly turned red. Even the simplicity was understood, and a piece of chicken was sandwiched over. Although we don't like Jian Wei, she still needs to express her feelings to her parents. After a little gesture, she can leave. Tonight is the home court for real and fake heirs. She just needs to sit in the corner and watch the play with peace of mind. Didn't you see Jian Lele with her eyes burning on the side? Yeah, Vivi, I'm telling you that Aunt Lou's craftsmanship is really impressive. No matter what she does, she's always very delicious, especially this sauce elbow. I've been eating it for more than 10 years, and I still haven't gotten tired of it. She picked up a piece of fish and put it into Jian Wei's bowl, smiling and saying, "There's also this braised fish. You can try it too, it's so delicious." Jian Wei didn't answer Jian Leilei's words either. She looked at the fish and meat sandwiched into her bowl, sneered, and directly placed it into the bowl and plate containing food residue. Everyone watched this scene, and in an instant, the atmosphere became very awkward, quiet to the point of suffocation. After a while, Jian Leilei, who was the first to react, went berserk. "Jian Wei, what do you mean by this? She, Jian Leilei, has been held in the hands of her parents since she was young, and has never experienced such anger before. Does Jian Wei look down on her and dislike her? Why is this Jian Wei coming back?" As soon as she returned, she snatched away the hearts of her parents. Thinking of this, Jian Leilei couldn't help but feel aggrieved. "Jian Wei, if you don't like me, just say it directly. What are you doing this for? Do you dislike me?" Lin Jishan's heart melted when she saw Jian Leilei's pitiful expression of being wronged and about to cry. She quickly stepped forward to comfort her. "Leilei, what are you saying, Vivi? Vivi may just not like eating fish, right?" She looked at Jian Wei with hopeful eyes. Jian Wei's mouth curved slightly, and she looked at her with disdain. "Jian Leilei, I did it on purpose. I just didn't want to eat the food you've picked up. How did I drip it? Seeing you reminded me of how disgusting and nauseating your Wang family is." Upon hearing Jian Wei's words, Lin Jishan felt like her heart and liver were all stirred up, and she felt so uncomfortable that she began to cry. "Vivi, how could you say that? Holding the wrong child wasn't Leilei's idea. She was just a little baby back then." Jian Wei saw that Lin Jishan was speaking to Jian Leilei both inside and outside, and even Jian Qingyao frowned without saying a word. She couldn't help but become even more excited and angry. "Aunt Jian, am I not innocent? Do you know what kind of life I have been living for the past 18 years? I have to get up before dawn to cook breakfast, take care of my younger siblings, and do all the household chores alone. I have to be busy until late every day to have time to study and do homework. I also have to do odd jobs on weekends to earn tuition fees for the next semester. Just like this, even if I work so hard, I will still be beaten or scolded by the Wang family if they have any dissatisfaction. Do you know? If you come a month or two later, I might be sold by the Wang family to the Jie Lashan area to exchange dowry for Wang Xiaodi. I have been mistreated by the Wang family over the years, and Jian Leilei, who should have borne all of this, has taken over my identity and enjoyed the love that should have belonged to me in my home, by my parents. Can you say, can I not hate? Take a look at my appearance, then take a look at Jian Leilei's appearance, take a look at what I have been mistreated into. Why? You think she's innocent, isn't I innocent? Didn't I bear the hardships I have endured for her over the past 18 years? Shouldn't the blessings she has enjoyed over the past 18 years belong to me? Why do you all stand on her side one by one, feeling sorry for her and thinking I'm making trouble for no reason?" Jian Wei's cries were particularly loud in the quiet hall, causing Jian Leilei, who was still nestled in Lin Jishan's arms and throwing her temper, to quiet down. The highly discerning butler quietly retreated with other servants when everyone didn't notice. Jian Qingyao rubbed his forehead vigorously and said in a deep voice, "Vivi, I'm sorry you've been suffering these years. It's all our parents' fault for this. It's our fault that caused today's outcome. Don't worry, we will definitely clean up the Wang family for you and never let them feel better. Even if you want to do it yourself, Dad will handle it for you. But Vivi, Leilei, she's innocent. She didn't do anything wrong in this matter." Jian Wei was angry and laughed at. She felt that standing here today was a joke, a big joke. Yes, she didn't do anything wrong. But Dad, Mom, she's a quick winner, she enjoys my blessings, and I suffer from her hardships. This is original sin in itself, isn't it? Now that she already knows the whole story, parents, tell me why she is still here. Shouldn't she go back to the Wang family? She has been taking up my things for 18 years, and now that I'm back, shouldn't we all go our separate ways, Vivi, I. At this point, Lin Jishan couldn't continue, she didn't know how to speak. She didn't expect her daughter to think like this, was she wrong? The Wang family is such a dirty and despicable family. How could she be willing to send back her beloved Lele? Isn't this taking her life? How could she bear to raise this child for over a decade? Jian Lele's eyes were red and she glared fiercely at Jian Wei, saying, Jian Wei, do you think I want to? Why did you blame me for all this? Why did you drive me away? For the past 18 years, I have been filial to my parents and making them happy. Why can't you think about my goodness? It's not me who caused you to have a bad life before. If you want to hate, you should also hate the Wang family. That's right, I didn't do anything wrong. The more I think about it, the more rational I become. And you see, as soon as you come back, your parents' hearts have shifted to you. There's no room for me in this family. I'm the one who should cry and be wronged, okay? It's clear that you took your parents away as soon as you came back, sobbing. Jian Wei was almost laughed at by Jian Lele's crooked reasoning and said, what does stealing mean? It's just my parents, okay? Jian Lele said, it's my parents. They've been raising me for almost 20 years, and you're the new one to rob people. Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan looked at the two of them, who were getting more and more excited as they argued, and the content of their argument became more childish. They couldn't help but sigh. And Jian sat far away from the scene of the incident, focusing on watching the play while savoring the delicious food. It has to be said that Aunt Lu from the Jian family has really good cooking skills. The next day, Jian woke up early and hurriedly finished breakfast before going to school, as if something in the family was chasing her. As soon as she entered the school gate, she could easily sense that many people around her were scrutinizing her, and her eyes exploring gossip were like substance. However, Jian was not the original owner and did not care about the opinions of others, so he continued to move forward without stopping his steps. The cool autumn breeze slowly blew, lifting the corners of her clothes, and the elite and capable aura rushed towards her. Her change aroused everyone's curiosity, and new topics became lively on campus forums early in the morning. Shocked, a mysterious beauty appears on campus, suspected to be Princess Jane. Without further ado, as shown in the picture JPG. 2L Is this really easy for Miss Jian from the Jian family? It's a bit familiar. But being beautiful is really beautiful. 3L Last time at the Mrs. birthday banquet, I saw her. She looks like a delicate and beautiful woman from a small family, far from the beautiful woman in the photo. She probably went for plastic surgery, right? For L, on the third floor, it looks like someone who says it's sour grapes. Plastic surgery. Can you tell us where we can have such a beautiful one in a day? Come on, tell me, I'll give it a try. 5L Agree with upstairs. They are at school every day, how could they have gone for plastic surgery? 6L Maybe I was stimulated by my family. I heard that the Miss Jian family has someone else, not the original Jian Lele. The Miss Jian has returned home now. 7L Yes, I'm really curious. What's the situation with the Jian family now? According to the original owner's memory, he found his desk and saw that the bell for class had not yet rang, so he took out his phone and started surfing. In her previous life, she lived until she was over 80 years old. Her descendants were around her knees, and there were often younger people holding their phones to share interesting things online with her. Therefore, despite the old lady's age, she was actually an internet addict. Now with a new life, a fresh body, in simple terms, she felt that her entire heart and soul were young. Remembering the inquisitive gaze of others upon entering the school gate, I briefly thought about it and followed the memory of the original work to enter the school forum. If you want to know anything new about the school, then watching forums is a great choice. Flipping through various gossip posts on the forum, Jian's lips curled slightly. New books for collection and recommendation tickets, thank you, Mua, end of this chapter. Chapter 3. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 3. In the plot, the original protagonist did not come to school due to a high fever, so he did not know that the real and fake family heirs had already caused a stir, and even some influential people knew about it. Fake Qianjin was busy contacting her fiancé A Gu Chong, while true Qianjin was busy studying and causing trouble for Lin Jishan. She wanted to drive Jian Lele away, but the Jian family was also disoriented by the two of them and did not make timely public relations. The controversy over Jane's true and false heirs has intensified, gradually causing a storm in the city. Even the stock market has experienced a slight turbulence. Due to this loss, Jian's father vented his anger on the original owner, as the source of the news's initial spread was the aristocratic high school where the original owner currently resides. Jian's father believed that it was because the original owner did not notify him in a timely manner that she suffered such a big loss, and was even told by the board of directors that she would not handle family matters. Jian Qingyao thought that Jian Wei and Jian Lele were the parties involved in this matter. They were in a bad mood and were all college students. They didn't pay attention to this matter and didn't realize that the consequences of this incident before the official announcement of the Jian family were understandable. But as an outsider, Jian is still reading at that school. How could he not be clear about what the school is circulating? And even though she knew the rumors were flying around the school, she didn't stop or notify him to handle it. Her heart was so bad that she raised this white-eyed wolf for nothing. Therefore, during that period, the days of the original owner were particularly difficult. Lin Jishan spoke ill of her, Jian Wei despised her, and Jian Lele was always full of strange things. The atmosphere of dissatisfaction and exclusion in the entire family has further developed the original owner's inferiority complex, introverted and cowardly nature. But they never thought that the original owner fell ill and had a fever, so he rested at home for several days and never went to school to study. I finally recovered from my illness and went to school. However, due to Lin Jishan's high expectations, I was busy reviewing my homework and reading notes when I arrived at school. There was no American time to care about school gossip. Due to his introverted and silent personality, he is one of the few good friends who can speak at school. Therefore, the original owner had no idea that so many things had happened without her knowledge, until she was angrily scolded by Jian Qingyao as a white-eyed wolf, and she was still confused. Every time I think back on the experiences of the original owner, my little heart feels a throbbing pain. What a great child, is that how they were treated by their biological parents and sisters? If these individuals were her descendants, she would have to strike them with a stick, making him look completely unrecognizable. What a sin! Now let her think about how to get some benefits from this matter. It's not just simple snobbery, but this morning when I opened the original owner's wardrobe, I found a uniform gray and dark tone inside, which made her look covered in black lines. A 16.7-year-old girl, at the same age as a flower, in the same youthful years as a flower, what does she wear all day? She was gray and even older than her mother Lin Jishan in her attire. In her previous life, when Jian Yi was in her 70s or 80s, she was also dressed in red and green, a fashionable and charming old lady. There's no way, so Jian had to prepare to buy a few sets to wear on his own. As a result, when I opened the wallet, there were only red banknotes and no supplementary cards. When I opened the balance of Alipay, there were only 10,000 pieces. It was easy to see that I was furious. The daughter of the richest man in a province and one of the Fortune 500 companies in the world. Apart from the jewelry that is difficult to sell, she only wears at banquets. Surprisingly, she only has tens of thousands of pieces in her pocket. Does anyone believe her? For most people, a minor high school student can have tens of thousands of dollars in their pocket, which can be considered a considerable amount. But Is the original owner an ordinary person? Is the Jian family an ordinary family? In the circle of the Jian family, a single bag alone costs hundreds of thousands, let alone others. Although it's not like spending tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands just to buy a piece of clothing, it's important to pay attention to the materials and fabrics, design style, brand, and so on. Even a piece of clothing costs tens of thousands of yuan. After all, in the position of the Jian family, the attire of the family members should not be too modest, and they should consider their appearance. Jane herself is someone who comes from the bottom to work hard. She can wear clothes worth tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and even hundreds of thousands. But the problem is that she is not at the bottom right now, and the Jian family is not her main business. She is certain that if she only buys a few clothes with 10,000 yuan in her pocket and wears them back, she will definitely be scolded to death by the face-saving Jian Qingyao. Moreover, in the original owner's memory, not to mention Lin Jishan, who would go shopping with his wife every other day, it's Jian Lele, who has been carrying big and small bags since childhood. Even the last Jian Wei, after getting used to the lifestyle habits of the wealthy circle, was also the one who bought a bag for hundreds of thousands without blinking an eye. How did you get to the original owner? The clothes were all bought by the butler, with only the New Year's money given by the festival elders in your pocket. On weekdays, if you want to go out and buy something, you are at a loss. The original owner was also an honest and cowardly child. After being scolded by Lin Jishan for asking for pocket money, he didn't say much more. The little girl has no money, so she doesn't dare to invite her friends out to play. As she grew up, her friends who were still able to talk to each other when they went out to play habitually forgot about her. The butler did not carefully choose clothes for her, coupled with the timid temperament of the original owner, which made the original owner look more ordinary and without any highlights. In the eyes of the head of the family, Jian Qingyao, who originally did not care about her children, there was even less memory. However, now that she has arrived, she is not the original owner, so she won't be so foolish. Jian Lele and Jian Wei also need to have talent for some treatment. They are all part of the same family. Why is she hesitant to speak up? After all, she is also the daughter of Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan. If she doesn't spend it now, is it for them? He. As soon as the bell rang for the end of class, Yi picked up his phone and went to the director's office. Although Jian is not favored at home, she is still the upright second miss of the Jian family. As long as Jian Qingyao does not show any displeasure towards her in public, it indicates that she does not have inheritance rights. Therefore, her identity as the second miss of the Jian family is still very impressive. Jian took out his phone, clicked on the campus forum webpage, and handed it to the teaching director, instructing him to read it. There have been some rumors at school recently, and I also know that my classmates are very curious about what happened to my sister. Indeed, as you may think, my sister has been recovered and the two families are currently discussing some matters. It is not yet clear to the students who are concerned about this matter. In order not to cause any negative impact, I would like to ask the school to cooperate. If there is any new news, the Jian family will release a press conference, and we will definitely give everyone who pays attention to this matter an explanation. I think school is a place for learning, and I don't want to disrupt my classmates' learning mood or cause trouble for the school due to some personal matters. I'm really sorry. The teaching director returned the finished phone to Jian and shook his head with a smile, saying, "You're too polite." During this period, the school has been very emotional. Don't worry, we will definitely supervise the students to study seriously. After receiving a satisfactory answer, he stood up and thanked him with a smile. "Thank you so much. With your words, I can rest assured. I came over to disturb your work today, and I feel very sorry. There is a Western restaurant near my school, and I asked someone to make some desserts and drinks. Later, someone will bring them over for you to try and see if it suits your needs. You have been working hard all day. It's almost 4 p.m. now, and I believe my classmates are also hungry. Later, I will share a portion with all the students in the school to replenish their energy. The teaching director was also pleased to see Jian so sensible and polite. I used to think that Miss Jian, the second daughter of the Jian family, was introverted and rarely interacted with people all day long. But today, I see that she is still very good at getting things done. Then I'll thank classmate Jian. Yes, yes. Jian saw the guidance director's response and casually said 2 more words before getting up and saying goodbye. As for the matters on the forum and campus network, she doesn't need to go into too much detail. She just needs to indicate the attitude of the Jian family. How many of the others who can sit in the position of head of a noble high school have no skills? After finishing the task, leave the rest to him to do. Now, she needs to call her busy father for money. Just now, she told the teaching director that she wanted to give each student and faculty an afternoon tea. The 10,000 yuan in her pocket is not enough now, and she can also take this opportunity to cry and be poor. Jian Qingyao is not like Lin Jishan, and his aversion to simplicity is not as bad as Lin Jishan's. After all, it is his own daughter Jian Qingyao, and even if conditions permit, he would not want his own daughter to live too poorly even if he is biased. Opening the phone and flipping through the contact list, it was found that the driver had the most contact with the original owner, and there were very few calls with their parents Jian Lele. Looking back at the memory of the original owner, I found that he goes to and from school on time every day and never worries anyone. He also studies or watches TV at home on weekends. He is really a well-behaved and obedient baby. Unfortunately, her relatives do not know how to cherish it. Fingers stuck on a private number that the original owner rarely dialed, wanting to press but not pressing. Upon careful consideration, it is now Jian Qingyao's working time. If she dials his personal number to disturb his work, given the position of the original owner in his heart, she may not have the same face as Jian Lele. If it bothers him, it is highly likely that her plan for today will be ruined. After some thought, Jian Qingyao still called his assistant. A little insurance is good. The phone was answered shortly after being dialed. Yes, Miss Air. May I ask if there is anything I can do? Hello Uncle Wang, I would like to ask if my dad is busy right now. It's truly helpful, as his response to answering the phone is so fast. Assistant Wang flipped through Jian Qingyao's itinerary and replied, the chairman is currently handling official business in the office. Is there anything you can do to reach out to the chairman? Is there anything I can do for you? Thank you, Uncle Wang. I have some things I would like to talk to my dad about. Can you help me get his phone number? Assistant Wang was a bit surprised when asked this simple question. You should know that in the past, Miss Air rarely called during working hours. A few times she called, she directly asked him to help arrange, and she never asked the chairman like Mr. Assistant Wang was momentarily stunned and immediately reacted. Okay, Miss Air, please wait a moment. Upon hearing Jian's response, Assistant Wang knocked on the door of the chairman's office and briefly told Jian Qingyao the message that Jian wanted to contact him. After receiving a response, he quickly handed his phone to Jian Qingyao with both hands. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 4. Hello, Xiaoyi, what's up with you when you call? At first, when Jian Qingyao heard that it was a simple call, his thoughts were the same as those of Assistant Wang. His daughter may really have been taken care of by his wife. She is quiet and timid all day long. However, there has been some progress in the past few days. Yesterday, her sister came home for the first time and could talk. She has established a good relationship with Vivi, so if we put it aside, it would definitely be a silent call. Listening to Jian Qingyao's tone on the phone, it is easy to tell that the original owner still has some place in Jian Qingyao's heart during this period. Eccentricity may exist, perhaps not as good as Jian Wei and Jian Lele, but in his heart, he is at least a daughter who deserves some patience and love, rather than the scumbag who spends all his energy on real and fake gold, hanging on the company, and even selling his daughter. But that's enough. Dad, it's like this. As soon as I went to school today, I found out that our family's affairs had been circulating wildly on the school forum, and most of the students were also discussing this matter. Because my family has not yet issued a clear statement, I am afraid that the situation will worsen and cause any negative impact. Therefore, I went to the office of the teaching director and asked him to handle the matters on the campus network as well as control these messages as much as possible. We will hold a press conference to clarify this matter when we confirm it, so that they do not spread rumors. But I was afraid that I might not handle it well, so I called to tell you, do you think I can do this? The girl's voice was timid and cowardly, as if a child had done something wrong, trembling and waiting for punishment from adults. I don't know which point touched Jian Qingyao's rare fatherly love that appeared on Jian Jian, and her tone of voice softened unconsciously. Xiaoyi, you did a great job. Dad has been too busy lately, and the new project launch and your sister's affairs have left him anxious. He forgot about the PR matter. Fortunately, you also reminded me, otherwise there would be a large-scale rumor spreading in this stall, which would be very bad for our product. Don't worry, Dad will handle the rest of the matter well. You can focus on studying. Seeing Jian Qingyao's response to this matter, Jian Jian knew that he had nothing to do with it afterwards. She has the ability to handle this matter directly on her own. In her past life, she went from nothing to only having a few dozen yuan in her farming pocket, to owning a Fortune 500 company with a market value of billions. It is not difficult for her to handle rumors at this level. But the problem is that her current identity is just an underage girl who has suffered from domestic violence since childhood, is introverted and speaks little, and usually only knows how to read. Such a person who has not been trained in interpersonal skills will definitely not be able to please if she becomes exceptionally capable. Jian Qingyao never underestimates anyone, nor is she complacent about her status as a civil servant in the local government, not caring about others. Therefore, every sentence she says to Jian Qingyao is imitating the original owner, from tone to punctuation. Okay, Dad. That Dad, Jian whispered in the tone of the original owner on the other end of the phone. It seemed hesitant, unsure of how to speak, hesitant. Jian Qingyao patiently waited for a moment before hearing Jian continue to say, Dad, can you give me some money? Because this matter may require the guidance of the head teacher, and considering that the students in the school are also from good families, it would be difficult for them to ask their classmates to do anything because of our family's affairs. Therefore, I learned from my father's usual behavior and made the decision to invite everyone to have afternoon tea. Later, I realized that the school was going crazy when it came to family matters, so I directly told the head teacher to invite all the students in the school. Didn't we open a Western restaurant near the school? I want to book it directly there, but when I just looked at it, I found that I only had a few hundred yuan in my wallet and around 10,000 yuan in my phone. My school classmates and family are all in good condition, and I dare not ask for cheap things to throw my face at home. I don't know what to do. Dad, I don't want to spend money recklessly. As my mom told me, Dad works hard and it's not easy to earn money, so I usually spend very little money. Besides spending very little on birthday gifts for my classmates, I also rarely go out to play or buy things recklessly. Sigh. Jian Qingyao's heart softened as he listened to his daughter's increasingly sad and incoherent words. What exactly is going on? As his daughter, why does Jian Jian only have 10,000 yuan in her hand, and she doesn't even have the money to do something and invite a guest? How does Lin Jishan handle things? There are only 2 daughters at home. Oh no, I can't manage any of them well. It's okay if we don't have any money at home, but why didn't we give Xiaoyi some money that she couldn't spend all her life on? The more I thought about Jian Qingyao, the tighter my eyebrows furrowed. It's okay, Xiaoyi. It's Dad's mistake. Dad forgot that you've grown up and it's time to dress up and buy things. It's Dad who forgot. I will have Xiaoli deliver my secondary card to you later, and I will also give you some pocket money every month. You can buy whatever you want in the future, you know. As for the school afternoon tea matter, Uncle Wang will call the restaurant later to handle it. Don't worry about this matter, you know. Jian Qingyao raised her eyebrows slightly. She didn't expect Jian Qingyao to be so easy to talk about. She thought she could only dig tens of thousands of yuan from him today at most, but the result surprised her. In the original owner's memory, before Jian Wei returned, she was rejected by her mother for asking for money from Lin Jishan. She angrily scolded her for not studying well at a young age and knowing that she wanted money. Even though her family did not lack her food or clothing, she was like a black sheep and never dared to ask again. After Jian Wei was recognized, the company was suppressed by Jian Lele and others. At this time, Jian Qingyao's money was invested in the project, and he didn't have any extra cash, so even if the original owner got married, he didn't give too much dowry. Therefore, without careful consideration, Jian Qingyao thought he was stingy. Similarly, men and women are ultimately different. For men, no matter which woman gives birth to a child, as long as it is his own child, it will ultimately be his child. In the absence of any unexpected circumstances, whether biased or not, there will always be some place for this child in their hearts. Especially during this period of time when the company is still in turmoil, being instigated by Jian Lele to cry and beg Jian Qingyao to arrange scumbags into the company, gradually eroding Jian Qingyao's love for his original owner's daughter. But, Dad, will this give me too much money? Mom and sister both say I'm still young and don't need to carry too much money. I'm afraid I might break my studies and spend money recklessly. Since my dad doesn't dislike her as much as she imagined, a small dose of eye medicine is still necessary. Jian Qingyao frowned and said, "Don't listen to your mother talk nonsense. Your mother herself is the one who spends money recklessly. She either plays card SPA or buys some messy things every day. It's your sister, oh no, your Lele's sister also moves things home every day. Take a look at the clothes in her wardrobe, how many are worn, and ask your Uncle Lon, butler, how many unused clothes and bags can be cleaned from her room every month. Even your Vivi sister, when she came back yesterday, your mother also gave her a card and transferred several million, so you don't need to worry or be afraid when Dad gives you this money. Well behaved, it used to be my dad's negligence. When I saw your Lele's sister moving things at home all day, I thought she also gave you money. It's okay, Xiaoli. Now my dad will make up for it for you. You are my daughter, Jian Qingyao. How could you not have money on you? Dad's money is enough for you to spend for several lifetimes. As long as people like us don't touch those dirty things, you can buy anything else as you please. Lin Jishan's brain is broken, isn't she? The older she gets, the more confused she becomes. What does it mean to spend money recklessly? She keeps throwing money out every day like that, not even in and out. What's wrong with giving some money to Xiaoli? Still young, spending money recklessly. Even if it's difficult to conceive Xiaoli uncomfortable without Huai Weiwei, you can't vent your anger on the child. What did the child do wrong? Eccentricity has shifted to the creaking pit. I said, how can children stay at home all day without going out with their little sisters and shopping for SPAs like Lele? It turns out that they don't have money in their hands. In their circle, going out to play and having no money in their pockets can't invite guests. How could they have the face to go out and play, let alone Xiao Yi's hands only have 10,000 yuan? He couldn't believe it. He thought it was Jian Lele, who was a daily spendthrift. Now he has at least 1 or 2 million yuan in cash. Moreover, Xiaoyi is his biological daughter, and Jian Lele is not. The more I think about Jian Qingyao, the more angry I become, and the temperature around me has increased by several degrees. He and Lin Jishan are a business alliance led by an old man, and Lin Jishan herself comes from a noble family. He originally thought that there were no heirs to the family business, but at least when he was busy with his career and had no time to take care of his family, he could help him take care of the elderly and children at home, and handle the trivial matters inside. However, Lin Jishan responded to him like this. A few years ago, I had to run around all day without being able to leave home, so let's not talk about marriage alliances. They don't have much emotional foundation, as long as they can get by. It's not a big deal to have the child born in a corner, anyway the child is fine, usually, either playing cards or wandering around. It's not a big deal to leave the household chores to the butler. As for the butler, whoever manages them well doesn't care. Anyway, every time he goes back and looks at Leilei's cheerful and confident smile, he also feels happy. What's wrong with Xiaoyi? If it weren't for Xiaoyi calling him today and saying that he didn't even know that the richest woman in the hall only had a few thousand yuan on her body and didn't even have the money to invite a guest, how could she socialize and establish good relationships with others? She was even more surprised to hear Jian Qingyao say that it was easy. She didn't expect Jian Qingyao to say so and have such a soft attitude. Okay, I'll listen to my dad. Thank you, Dad. Don't give it up for nothing. Originally, the purpose of her phone call today was to ask for money. Jian Wei and Jian Leilei have it, and she also needs to have talent. She doesn't have flowers, should we leave them with flowers? Hee, she's not that foolish, especially with Jian Qingyao's secondary card, which is much higher than the amount Lin Jishan gave Jian Wei and Jian Leilei's secondary card. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 5. As she spoke, Jian suddenly remembered that the reason she initially wanted money was to change her image. Except for the custom-made dress for the banquet, she was not very satisfied with the other clothes in the wardrobe, and the fringe in front of the original owner's forehead needed to be cut. Every time she lowered her head, she covered her eyes, which was annoying. But as soon as she received the card today, she couldn't have swiped it for him that day. Without explaining it in advance, it's possible that Jian Qingyao would think of her. Although she doesn't really care about what others think, she must first preserve the original owner's way of doing things and not go too far at once. And she can ignore Lin Jishan's perception of her, but she still needs to pay attention to Jian Qingyao's view of her. After all, the original owner of the Jian family also has inheritance rights. Why should it be given to those who have hurt the original owner? Even if she can rely on her own strength to seize Jane's, or create an existence no smaller than Jane's, but for what? As the saying goes, why doesn't Jian Qingyao spend her money? Should she leave it to someone else? Besides, although spending other people's money is not as easy as spending one's own money, saying a few good words to one's own father and showing weakness can bring benefits. Why not do it? Maybe I can still anger those two mothers and daughters who always look down on the original owner. The diaphragm should kill them. Jian asked cautiously, so, Dad, can I go to the barber shop to get my bangs cut? My wife has grown, and when I write, it always shakes and itches. Of course you can spend Xiaoyi's dad's card as you please. You're almost an adult now, and it's time to dress up well, buy whatever you like, and do whatever hairstyle you like. As long as you don't come back with a chicken coop, Dad will accept it. Don't always stay at home when you have nothing to do. You can learn from your sister Leilei to schedule dates with your friends, do beauty treatments, and don't listen to your mother always staying at home reading books. We don't need a bookworm at home. Jian Qingyao felt for the first time that her little daughter was also quite obedient. Seeing that today's plan was perfectly completed beyond the quota, Jian Qingyao was also very happy in her heart. With a smile, Yan's colleague Jian Qingyao agreed and reminded her not to forget about inviting all the teachers and students of the school for afternoon tea. After that, Jian smiled and hung up the phone. Very good. After school, I plan to go to the hair salon to cut off the messy hair on my forehead and make it look better. In her previous life, she worked as a household farmer in the early years. When she was young, she caught up with the reform and opening up and encouraged her family to start a company and do practical work. In old age, she finally had time and money to enjoy life. However, she was old and weak, and her children and grandchildren were not at ease going out alone to play. After death, I arrived in the underworld. As a virtuous person with numerous merits, I finally became a civil servant in the underworld and strived to complete the mission that the person wanted in the small world. I could live happily and freely in countless worlds, but couldn't I force myself to do so? The speed on Jian Qingyao's end is still very fast. He just started a class and the afternoon tea he had scheduled was delivered. Jian Qingyao personally led people to the principal's classroom office one by one, and the rest was thrown to the people called by Jian Qingyao for handling. After seeing that everything was distributed, Jian took the stage and briefly expressed the attitude of the Jian family. The students who can enter this school are either wealthy and powerful from their families, or specially recruited students with excellent academic performance. Most of them are intelligent people. Through this statement, we can understand the meaning of the Jian family. Eating the afternoon tea that was simply delivered, coupled with the fact that everyone didn't want to easily offend the Jian family, the depressed feeling of having something to share in their hearts was also relieved. And after this incident, everyone had a new judgment on Jian's position in the Jian family. At least it wasn't as undervalued by the Jian family as they initially thought. It seems that in the future, we need to reconsider our attitude toward simplicity. Holding a simple drink, Chen Yifei walked up to the seat next to Jian and sat down. Jian, your milk tea is really delicious. The taste is really amazing. I thought your jewelry and clothes were made well, but I didn't expect your food to be so good. Jian turned around and looked at the happy girl in front of her, holding milk tea. Chunshan smiled and said, "Thank you. If you like, we can go to my restaurant together in the future. I think the food there is quite delicious. I can easily recognize this girl. Her company specializes in stationery. In my memory, when the first year of high school started, their family even sent a large number of various types of stationery to the school at once, and many classmates jokingly referred to her as a little girl selling stationery." Chen Yifei laughed heartily and readily agreed. When she heard that Jian wanted to do some styling after school, she patted her chest and said to Jian Bao, "Do you want to do styling? I also want to go, and I'm the best at it. I haven't done any styling for almost a month. I've bought a few nice clothes, and it's almost moldy when I stay at home." After school, Chen Yifei first took Jian to the styling studio she often frequented and called for the chief stylist to personally create Jian's style. Flipping through the various shapes on the picture album, it's easy to say that the little girl really loves to be pretty. After she got married back then, she was already in her 30s. The styles she went to the styling room were all neat short hair, and no matter how many stylists she changed, the styles she created were almost the same. The new sisters who have made good friends with each other are also very excited to go to the most prosperous entertainment city in Shanghai. From the bottom to the top, they look at the stores they are interested in, and then go in to have a look. When they see what they like, they will search one by one. It's easy to say that it's really enjoyable to play with young girls, and it feels like the whole person and mentality are young and relaxed. No wonder her little grandson was so passionate about being a playboy in his previous life. This feeling of recklessness is so satisfying, isn't it? After creating their own designs, within 2 hours, the two of them strolled around a quarter of the stores in Honghu shopping mall, buying clothes, shoes, bags, and other items. They easily used the newly obtained secondary card to swipe a small 1 million yuan in just a few hours. When the two of them came out of the mall completely refreshed, they had evolved from familiar children's shoes to close friends who had fought together and had a relationship of sweeping the mall. Perhaps the friendship of young people comes from such impulsiveness and nature. As it was almost 8 o'clock late and it was past dinner time at home, Chen Yifei took Jian to the Chinese restaurant that she often frequented, the Imperial Kitchen. It is said that the head chef of this restaurant is a descendant of the imperial kitchen and has excellent skills. Listening to Chen Yifei's introduction next to her, she looked around with great interest. It was truly a restaurant that the stationary princess could think of, and it truly lived up to its reputation. Not only the taste of the dishes, but also the beauty of the interior and exterior scenery of this shop is truly pleasing to the eye. Just as Jian Yi casually ordered 2 dishes, Chen Yifei on the side started shouting. "Easy, look at the campus forum. They're talking about you today." Puff, haha, what the hell is, shocked, mysterious beauty seen on campus, suspected to be Jane's little princess, Chen Yifei put her phone in a visible angle and pointed to the title of the post, laughing. "Take a quick glance, TSK, young people love to be lively and have a great curiosity about everything they do. Look at it, she just changed her clothes and makeup slightly compared to the original owner, and then walked a few steps with her head up and chest straight, which shocked her. Sometimes I can't help but enjoy watching these comments myself. I made a slight movement of my legs, and the feeling of my calves being sore and soft is really uncomfortable. This body is quite weak. By the way, I didn't feel it when I was shopping just now. Now that I'm free, my calves are a bit sore and weak." Chen Yifei chuckled as she put down her phone and took a few sips of the drink from the table. "Ha, you're lacking in exercise. Let me tell you, for someone like us, not only do we know 18 martial arts skills, but we should at least train them to be strong enough. At least when we encounter danger, we won't be able to run." Jian strongly agreed. "It seems that I need to schedule my fitness this weekend." The dishes in the imperial kitchen are served very quickly, and before Jian had a word with Chen Yifei, the ordered dishes were delivered. Looking at the delicious food on the table, with all its colors, flavors, my simple stomach began to moan shamelessly. Chen Yifei looked at the simple person sitting elegantly on the side, struggling with delicious food from the corner, and couldn't help but have many questions in her heart. The more she observed, the more curious she became. She has not seen Jian for the first time. Their families can be said to be among the best in the Shanghai market. Although each family mainly deals in different types of products, there will always be intersections in the upper echelons of the Shanghai market. From childhood to adulthood, in her impression, whether at various banquets or at school, Jian was a very introverted and silent person. From the few words leaked by Jian Lele, the eldest lady of the Jian family, it can be seen that Jian was not highly valued in the Jian family. Today, whether it's her unusual behavior or Jane's statement on the podium, coupled with the special moment of the return of the true daughter, all of these have made Chen Yifei extremely curious. However, after communicating with Jian today, Chen Yifei found that although Jian is quiet, she is not aloof. On the contrary, she is quite easy to get along with. Sometimes, she even feels a little doting on Jian, just like when her brother teases her. As early as when Chen Yifei observed her, she easily noticed it. She is not the naive little girl of the original owner, who is in her teens and knows nothing about the world. From a migrant worker to a strong woman running in a shopping mall, she has a very sensitive intuition for her emotions. However, she could feel that the little girl was just curious about her and had no ill intentions towards her. In addition, she would have to make a few friends in the shopping malls of Shanghai in the future. Therefore, when Chen Yifei came to talk to her, she did not object, but cooperated everywhere. With such a friend with a distinguished background, what she wants to accomplish next will become easier. After dinner, it was almost 10 o'clock when I returned home. As soon as I entered the house, the voice of Lin Jiashan's admonition came from the living room. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 6. Do you still know you're coming back? Do you know what time it is now? At a young age, you don't learn well. It's only after playing outside until late at night that you know where your home is. Is that how I usually teach you? Lin Jishan said angrily. Little sister, did you have a boyfriend outside? Why did you come back so late? You can't do this. You're still young, and now you should prioritize reading. Don't think about love all day. If you really want to fall in love, after you go to college, you can tell my sister and I will introduce you to a good one. Jian Lele is about to die of anger. Ever since she heard from her mother in the afternoon that her father gave him a secondary card, she has been holding back a lot of anger. She couldn't figure it out, when was Dad really won over by this girl movie? Dad's secondary card should belong to her, and most importantly, there is no upper limit to his secondary card. I'm going to be furious. Lin Jishan lightly patted Jian Lele's shoulder and said, that's right, Xiaoyi. You still have 1 year left before the college entrance examination. At such an important time, don't go out and run around all day. Stay at home and read more books when you have nothing to do, okay? Jian Lele pointed to a pile of shopping bags placed in the middle of the living room and said, also, younger sister, it's not easy for Dad to earn money. You're still young and haven't reached the age to dress up beautifully. If you have nothing to do in the future, it's better to listen to your mother's words, read more books, and strive to get into a good university. Jian glanced at the mother and daughter who sang and reconciled, and said in a deep voice, okay, I understand. Lazy to argue with the neurotic mother and daughter about what it was, Jian Jianyao scanned for a week and saw that Jian Qingyao had not returned yet, and Jian Wei was not there either. He then ordered several maids to come over and let them carry their spoils of war upstairs. Jian Lele looked at Jian's indifferent appearance, feeling frustrated and wanting to get angry. Sure enough, since Jian Wei returned, there has been no place of her own in this family. Not to mention Jian Wei who just returned, but also Jian Qingyao, who has had little presence since childhood, can already attract Jian Qingyao's attention. Now her mother, who has always loved her, harbors deep guilt towards Jian Wei and constantly thinks about how to make up for her. Dad is the same, and it seems that Jian also wants to take action now and take away some of his attention. No, if it continues like this, she will definitely be gradually forgotten by her parents. She needs to find some way to get her parents' attention back. As her mother said, she is also their daughter. Sitting awkwardly on the sofa in the small living room of the bedroom, watching the maids neatly organize their things, thinking about Qin Yifei, whom she had just made friends with today, her simple mood was inexplicably good. Even if she had just heard that annoying lecture, it couldn't affect her mood at all. Now that Jian Wei has returned, she still holds the title of the top scorer in the college entrance examination. As long as Jian Wei has not done anything wrong, causing irreparable consequences, she will undoubtedly be the heir of the Jian family. If it weren't for Jian Lele and Zhao Luhua in their previous lives, these two things that were both inside and outside would have been quietly handed over to Jian Wei as the head of the Jian family. Even at the back, Jian Wei still relied on her thunderous wrist to snatch Jian Shi back from Jian Lele Ning Jiazhen's hands. From the memory of the original owner's life, Jian Wei can be said to be a very qualified heir. In this life, if she also wants to snatch Jane over, either she will engage in internal strife with Jane Wei, win Jane Qingyao's recognition, and obtain Jane, either a sudden rise, attacking from outside, and forcefully acquiring Jane's. As a first-class aristocratic family in China, it is difficult to conquer Jian's family, whether from the outside or from the inside. But there is no other way. I want the original owner to go to the next life because he has never been cared for by his parents and has not received their approval. Therefore, my wish is to stand out, live my life, and receive their approval without making them feel too good. At the same time, I also want to retaliate against the scumbag and Jian Lele. Although it was not stated in the wish that he wanted Jane's, after carefully experiencing the feelings left by the original owner me, he can be certain that the original owner also had a keen desire for Jane's. That being the case, she will do her best to achieve this. The simple fingers lightly tap irregularly on the wooden tabletop, and the sound of thumping 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 is particularly seductive in a bedroom with good sound insulation. Jane's company excels in jewelry and luxury women's clothing, with the most famous being its subsidiary, Jeanfu Jewelry and luxury women's clothing brand Rainbow Butterfly. At present, whether it is clothing that follows the high-end luxury route, the mid-range route of the masses, or the low-end route of small profits and high sales, there is a faint sense of saturation in the market. This means that unless you pull down Jian Wei and step on her to take over, it will be difficult for you to start your own company and take the fashion line to get ahead. Let her smooth it out carefully. Where should her steps go next? After seeing the maids pack their things and close the door to leave, Jian went into the bathroom to start washing up. Forget it, there will be at least 3 or 4 years left until the real and fake gold coins compete for the company. The most important thing now is to make more connections and learn skills. Let's talk about other things. After determining what to do next, Jian took her father's secondary card and spent several days with her new friends. Until this day, the meeting dinner of the true eldest lady of the Jian family. After sleeping until the sun rises, as soon as I go downstairs, I can easily see the butler busy, directing a group of nimble servants to decorate the banquet venue. Looking around, she found that there was no other owner in the entire hall except for herself. He casually called a maid over and asked, "Where are my dad and them?" The maid gently placed the breakfast in her hand on the table and respectfully replied, "Mr. went to the office early in the morning, and Mrs. and the 2 young ladies also went out after Mr. left. They said they should go to do the styling." After saying this, she saw that there were no other orders from Jian and withdrew. That's great. Even if she comes, she cannot resist their habit of nearly 20 years. Habitually neglecting oneself, it can be said that one habitually neglects the original owner, until they are ready for their appearance and return home. Only then do they remember asking someone to find a high-quality item to take home and throw it at the original owner, allowing them to tidy up and dress themselves. The last affectionate mother and daughter were noble and beautiful white swans, while the original owner was set off as a white duck that did not enter the swan flock, without any shining points in an ordinary way. Fortunately, she is not the original owner, and she will not feel any injustice or unwillingness towards such a thing. Even when Jian Qingyao had set a specific time for the dinner party, she had anticipated such a situation. Through Qin Yifei's social circle, she met a recently returned overseas designer and asked him to help design the dress early on. Otherwise, she would have really gone blind today. However, how could she not give them a good eye medicine on such a good opportunity? Quickly resolving the breakfast on the desk, I made a simple phone call and went out. "Hello, is that Dad?" Through the last observation, Jian Qingyao found that she didn't dislike her contacting her personal number. After that, Jian Qingyao followed her stick and called every 3 or 2 days to contact her relationship, at least not allowing Jian Wei and Jian Lele to be more beautiful than before. After receiving a response from the other side, Jian asked, "Dad, do you know where Mom and the others went to do their styling?" "When I came together in the morning, Mom took her sister and the others out to do their styling. Today is my sister's first formal meeting with her uncles and uncles. I also want to dress better and not lose face for my father and sister. In the past, it used to be my mother and Lele Jia doing styling outside, and I casually played around with the clothes my mother brought back. This time, I want to go out and invite my friend to specially make a beautiful appearance to attend. Is that okay?" Jian Qingyao put down the document in his hand and rubbed his forehead. "Your mother, hey. It's okay, it's all up to you. You can just watch and do it yourself. Don't you have the card given by Dad in your hand? You can make whatever clothes you like." Lin Jiashan's brain doesn't know how it grows. It's getting worse and worse. He's busy with company matters every day and doesn't have any worries about coming home. As an unemployed housewife, she hasn't managed her family's affairs well yet. No wonder, in the past, unless it was a particularly important banquet, other Xiaoyi either didn't attend or had no outstanding attire. Isn't Xiaoyi a child who doesn't know how to dress up? After receiving a response and fooling him for a few words, he hung up the phone and finished the eye medicine. Jian Qingyao, a male chauvinistic and ambitious parent, should have also noticed some of the grievances the original owner has suffered over the years. Jian Qingyao can be considered the only person in this family who still has a little bit of love and pity for the original owner. Since that's the case, how could she not tell him all the grievances and injustices that the original owner has suffered from childhood to adulthood? In her understanding, this loss can be eaten, but it must be her own initiative and voluntary. If someone allows her to eat without her permission, then she must retrieve the venue, at least charging some interest is necessary. Just like in her previous life, when she and her family developed, there were always some people who liked to come up and stretch out their hands to catch the autumn breeze. You let them do things, they were unwilling, but for the sake of the benefits, they stretched out their hands faster than anyone else. Her cousin next door asked for a job to do, relying on being a related household. He received a lot of gifts, but the task was not done well. Not long after, the newly established company spread a bad reputation, with several business deals flying away due to damage to reputation. Despite the obstruction of parents, relatives and friends, they were easily angered and allowed people to spit out the benefits they had swallowed. They even kicked people out without giving any benefit to their family until death. As a result, Jianni has been roasted by his relatives, and he is not willing to suffer losses. Jian picked a Porsche of outstanding color from the garage, asked the butler to take the key, called the driver, and headed to the design studio for overseas returnees. The overseas designer was introduced by Qin Yafei, who is said to be his brother's classmate. He has been very interested in design since childhood and has been studying hard for more than 20 years. Therefore, he is very skilled in fashion dressing. A simple yet stylish V-neck knee-high red dress, a set of sparkling starry earrings and necklace, carefully crafted short hair, and a small face that only slightly adds makeup but does not appear dull, fully showcasing the simplicity of the outfit. Jian took a slight turn and looked at his youthful, beautiful yet dignified and elegant self in the mirror, expressing great satisfaction. He gave the stylist a heartfelt thumbs up in his heart. After finishing the styling, I glanced at the time and asked the driver to drive directly back to Jian's villa. As soon as the car drove into the villa gate, I could hear the beautiful music coming from the garden. After getting off the car and looking at the car in the garage, Lin Jishan and the others returned. I don't know how Jian Lele would react when she saw her outfit when she entered later. Thinking about Jian Lele's irritable and twisted face, it's easy to feel like cola. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake canon fodder 7. There's no way, Jian Lele probably inherited some genes from her biological parents. She looks a bit harsh and needs a lot of time to polish it before she can cover up that harshness. And the appearance of the original owner, after generations of genetic modification by his father and mother, not to mention that his appearance is better than that of Shishir, but he can still bear the burden of being a beautiful woman. It should also be because she discovered that the original owner was superior in appearance, so every time there were such crowded banquets, Jian Lele would take Lin Jishan outside to tidy up and dress up, deliberately leaving the original owner behind, afraid that the original owner would carefully dress up and suppress her popularity. Gradually, Lin Jishan also developed this habit. Every time, after finishing her styling with Jian Lele, she would bring back an expensive high-end set and then call a maid to casually deceive the original owner. Xiaoyi, do you know what day it is today? Why are you becoming more and more disobedient now? You know to play around outside every day, even today is such an important day. Jian Lele's words were not yet finished when she watched Jian, dressed up in full attire, slowly walk towards her, so shocked that she couldn't speak. Jian Wei, sitting on the single sofa next to her, sneered and looked down on Jian Lele's behavior. She thought there was something particularly remarkable about Jian Lele that could make her parents like her so much. Is that really her virtue? Sensing the mocking sound emanating from Jian Wei's body, Jian Lele dared not find fault with Jian Jian anymore and stood there angrily glaring at him. In the face of Jian Lele's difficulties, she did not speak out and retaliated. For her, these were all verbal disputes in the little girl's family, and only those without skills could account for the gains and losses more verbally. Since Jian Wei returned, Jian Lele has been picking on her more and more time, probably because of jealousy. After all, Jian Lele has always had a disdain for the younger sister Jian from a young age. Now that she is not the eldest daughter of the Jian family, she can only be said to be an adopted daughter. In her eyes, she was inferior to her in every aspect, and the simplicity without any advantages was truly the little princess of the Jian family. This alone was enough to make her envious, jealous, and resentful. In addition, Jian Wei is now the treasure in the palm of Jian's father and mother. She dare not do anything to Jian Wei, but Jian Wei, who has been bullied by her since childhood, was not used as an outlet by her. However, Jian Lele is not the original owner. As long as there is no real trouble caused by Jian Lele's difficulties, just talk about it, and Jian Lele just passes it off as a fart, lazy to argue with her. Soon, several luxury cars drove to Jian's villa one after another, and families with good relationships in Shanghai and Jian's family came early to the banquet. Jian Qingyao stood at the door with Jian Wei and Lin Jishan to welcome the invited guests, while Jian and Jian Lele were in the garden, entertaining guests of the same age group. The crowd was amazed as they watched Yi Jian constantly shuttle through the crowd, chatting and laughing with a smile on their face. Everyone is from the same circle, and most of the people who receive invitations from the Jian family are familiar faces from the upper echelons of the Chinese community. Jian usually doesn't go out to socialize anymore. At various annual meetings, birthday banquets, and other banquets in the circle, Jian Qingyao still takes her to attend. Therefore, everyone is not unfamiliar with the second miss of the Jian family. In everyone's impression, Miss Jian is a somewhat introverted, talkative, and timid little girl. When attending this kind of banquet, I followed Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan to recognize some people and then went to a remote place with dim sum. Unexpectedly, after 3 days of farewell, I looked at each other with a new eye. Today, wearing a simple red dress with a strong sense of design, paired with appropriate makeup, the small face becomes more delicate. With a smile on her face, she looks dignified and gentle like a young lady from ancient times. Whether viewed from afar or up close, the confidence and composure revealed by oneself cannot be ignored. Even if she has been lingering among many famous ladies and daughters, she is not inferior. Jian Qingyao and others explained that what the guests saw when they walked in was this scene. Jian Wei watched as she shuttled through the crowd like a butterfly, chatting and laughing with people in a simple way. She didn't know what was going on in her heart, feeling stuffy and uncomfortable. What is this? Today is clearly a banquet specially held for her, so what does it mean to be so noisy and grab her attention? Jian Wei doesn't think she's a narrow-minded and intolerant person, but what's wrong with her lately? Why does she always look down on Jian and Jian Lele, more displeased than Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan who have lost her? Even more so, compared to Jian Lele, who occupies the magpie's nest, she hates simplicity even more. She thought, maybe she couldn't get angry, maybe she wasn't willing to accept it, maybe she complained about the unfairness of heaven, maybe she couldn't see the people around her living better than herself. Why was she born to the same parents? She had to suffer everything she shouldn't have suffered in the Wang family since childhood, living a life inferior to that of a beast, but her sister, who shares the same father and mother, can live a delicious life, which used to only exist in her dreams. However, she did not express these thoughts like Jian Lele did. She is not yet very familiar with Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan, although based on observations during this period, Jian is the least favored one in this family. But Jian has lived in this family for nearly 20 years, even if it's raising a kitten or puppy. After a period of time, there will still be feelings. It's hard to say who Jian's father and mother will stand with when facing her daughter who is returning halfway, and whether they will gradually erase their guilt towards them. She can't gamble, nor dare she gamble. She's not a fool, and even if she hasn't eaten pork, she knows pigs can run. Having watched so many TV dramas, read so many years of books, and seen so many people or things, as long as there are no accidents, the likelihood of Jane being her is extremely high. According to her analysis, Jian Lele was indulged by her father and mother, and her mind was filled with buying, and various handsome guys. However, based on her observations and information obtained from Lin Jishan and Jian Lele, it is also difficult to achieve success. She is the top scorer in the college entrance examination, a top student from Tsinghua University, and also the biological daughter of Jian Qingyao. As long as she doesn't die, she can graduate and enter the Jian family. She is not a child anymore, she has already passed the age of seeking parental care. After so many years of suffering and training, she now puts interests first. Since she has returned, Jane is determined to win. If I had a feeling, I would turn around and see Jian Wei's smile. TSK, I'm too young to hide things, and that idea is clearly on my face. And such a strong emotion was also noticed by Jian Qingyao standing beside Jian Wei. Jian Cheng is brilliant and mature, with tens of thousands of employees in his hands. Looking at the expression on Jian Wei's face, one can see that something is not difficult. He also felt the simple changes in the past few days, and he was well aware of his little daughter's movements during this period. However, these things are all small things for Jian Qingyao. Besides, both of them are his daughters, and having a competitive relationship is a good thing. He has no objection to whoever wins, and whoever is an excellent company is their own. Jian Qingyao walked up to the height of the stage with a smile on Jian Wei's face, picked up the microphone to express gratitude to everyone for being able to attend the banquet, and then clicked on the purpose of this banquet to celebrate Jian Wei's return and share the joy of welcoming her home. After getting off the stage, Jian Qingyao ordered people to call Jian over and instructed him to follow him. With Jian and Wei, they began to recognize people everywhere. Jian Qingyao was very surprised by his sweeping operation, but upon second thought, Jian Qingyao was not a fool. If before today, Jian Qingyao had thought that she was just a little girl who wanted to be spoiled and occasionally sued her, then her behavior just now and Jian Wei's fear of her probably made Jian Qingyao slightly consider her as an heir. "Mom, look at Dad, how could he do this?" Jian Lele pulled at Lin Jishan's sleeve and stomped her feet in anger. "Mom, doesn't Dad like me anymore? Is it because I'm not Dad's biological daughter, so I don't even have the right to stand by her side?" At the thought of the sinister tone in which she once flattered her little sisters, Jane Lele was furious. She didn't expect Jian Qingyao to be so heartless, networking with those two little sluts and opening up social circles without even calling her. Although most of the contacts introduced by Jian Qingyao were familiar to her, standing by Jian Qingyao's side and chatting with other guests was her exclusive privilege in the past, and now she can only stand in the corner and watch. Just now, when she saw her little sisters, who is usually good at playing, coming forward to talk, she was ridiculed by those bitches. She was really going to explode. Humph, why do they look down on themselves? Even without Jane's inheritance rights, she is not something they can look down upon. One day, she will fight back these mockery. Lin Jishan looked in the direction of Jian Lele's fingers and saw Jian Qingyao wearing a simple identification. She couldn't help feeling uncomfortable, but although she favored Jian Wei and Jian Lele, she also knew the situation. With so many people present, she couldn't embarrass the Jian family, so she didn't say anything. She smiled and pulled Jian Lele around, continuing to walk towards the crowd of other wealthy women. Jian Lo was delighted to see that Lin Jishan had no other choice but to obediently accompany her and entertain guests with her. "Jiazhen, we made the wrong bet this time. I didn't expect that girl Jian Lele was actually a fake daughter." What should Jiajin do with her engagement? Ning Jiajin's mother, Yang Dan, tilted her head and whispered to her husband, Ning Xianxiang, son. Ning Xianxiang saw this scene and kept drumming in his heart. Looking at Jian Qingyao's appearance, it's highly likely that Jian Lele won't have any shares in Jian's, at most a dividend of 1.2%. Ning Jiajin looked around as no one else was present and whispered, Mom and Dad, now everyone knows about my engagement with Jian Lele, it's not that easy to break it. Moreover, looking at the appearance of a wealthy woman is not an easy person to fool. I think we can still start with Jian Lele. From Mrs. Jian's attitude towards Jian Lele, it seems that she is still profitable. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 8. This banquet was a simple expression of great satisfaction, which not only broke the inherent impression that the original owner had always given to everyone, but also demonstrated her ability to make friends in front of everyone. Since she is ready to do business, it is still necessary to showcase her abilities appropriately. Low-key, clumsy, non-existent. You are so ordinary, how can people believe that you have the ability to accomplish things? Although she is now thinking of working hard to do well in her studies, it does not delay her from doing something during this period, such as the Lala Alliance. After all, Miss Jian's reputation is still very useful. The day after the banquet ended, she received an invitation from the wine shop of the little sisters she met at the banquet. The sisters have set up a famous entertainment club in Shanghai's prosperous business circle, where the minimum per capita consumption per night is several 100,000 yuan. Jian looked up at the huge display screen and dazzling billboard above his head, smacking his lips. The owner of this clubhouse is really a big spender. Opening the agreed-upon private door, the laughter of men and women came from inside. Jian was the first time attending such a simple gathering that was just for eating, drinking, and playing. Seeing the noise that stopped because of her opening the door, Jian smiled naturally and politely, and then went to the crowd she knew. After chatting casually with friends I knew, I squinted my eyes and scanned the private room, only to see many unfamiliar faces. However, she is not awkward. Most of the people who can enter this private room are descendants of aristocratic families, almost all of whom are famous and powerful. With such an upbringing, her speech is never awkward, and everyone is good at regulating the atmosphere. The original owner had hardly attended such gatherings before, and could even be said to have avoided them. He was extremely insecure about himself, afraid that he would be pointed at and laughed at by others when standing in the crowd. There is no such concern about simplicity. In her early entrepreneurial years, in order to run a business, she had the audacity to constantly go through the streets and promote her products. At that time, just after the reform and opening up, it was allowed to do business, but people's long-standing beliefs had not changed. They looked down upon individual businesses and believed that being a worker who ate the country's food was the right person. Even her former family thought the same way, to avoid arguing with her about this matter, which shows how much she suffered from discrimination in the early stages of entrepreneurship. The most talked about thing about a group of girls together is beauty clothing. During the conversation, I casually praised my friend whom I just met yesterday for her clothes, and the topic became more lively. People around me were also enthusiastic about discussing this topic. Haha, no way. I don't usually use any skincare products, but I prefer to soak in hot springs for maintenance. Whenever I have free time, I go there. Maybe that beauty salon has real skills, and I think my complexion is getting better and better. Let's try it out together another day. The girl who was praised by EE smiled and almost grinned to her ear. The young ladies of the aristocratic family only let her go after seeing the main master say this, and then they arranged for another round, and the relationship came out just like this. Perhaps the young masters and ladies in this private room are not the heirs of the family, but it does not mean that they lack skills or abilities. The connections in people's hands are often a kind of alternative wealth, and that is how the network has developed. Don't say anything, this is aligning with interests. We are all adults now, and when we don't get along in love, making friends is all about these things, isn't it? After finishing Jian Wei's meeting, the following time can be arranged freely. During this period of time, Jian has been memorizing vocabulary and studying books. Not to mention that the person who made the wish for this task has a desire to stand out. Let's say that as a salesperson in the maintenance department of the underworld small world, she has countless small worlds waiting for her to maintain. She still has tens of thousands of years of life waiting to shuttle through various planes and fulfill the wishes of the vengeful ghosts. Therefore, learning knowledge and skills is essential. This is her first task world, and she happens to pass through as a student. If she doesn't study well in this situation, what will she do with her endless tasks afterwards? What if the next world doesn't have that opportunity to learn knowledge and skills? She can't rely on what she learned in the original world. Can she finish the experience of that half bucket of water skill? Thinking this way, I feel that my motivation to learn has become even stronger. Xiaoyi, how are you? Are you nervous? Do you want Dad to take you there tomorrow? Jian Qingyao looked at the increasingly confident and energetic little daughter in front of her, feeling a little proud. A year ago, my youngest daughter was still a somewhat introverted child. In the blink of an eye, this child has grown up and is waiting for a few days to complete the college entrance examination. This child can be said to be a true adult. Jian Lele approached and affectionately grabbed Jian's hand, saying with a smile, "Yes, sister, do you need us to take you to school for tomorrow's exam? Why don't I take a leave from school tomorrow? Although you usually don't treat me well, I have been your sister for nearly 20 years and still hope that you can perform well tomorrow, strive for good grades, and go to a good university." The simple and agile person slightly turned around to avoid the hand extended by Jian Lele and looked at Jian Qingyao nodding in response. "Okay, then I'll trouble Dad." Then, he turned around and patted Jian Lele's shoulder, smiled and shook his head, politely refusing, "Thank you, sister. I just need my dad to accompany me. Sister has to go to school tomorrow, so it's not good to take a leave for this matter of mine. Moreover, my older sister's third year is almost over, and it's time for me to be busy searching for a job and interning. I'm sorry to delay her time. After all, in terms of her school, finding a job is not as convenient as in her older sister's school." This light and floating sentence was like a sharp knife, piercing straight at Jian Lele's pain point. If there are any taboos about Jian Lele that cannot be mentioned, then it belongs to the status of an adopted daughter, and she has a good brain and good grades that are different from Jian Wei and Jian Lele. Not to mention Jian Wei, the top scorer in the college entrance examination, but to mention the original owner, a small bookworm, who also abused Jian Lele, a scumbag who relied on throwing money to get into the 985 school. And Jian Qingyao is a new bottle of old wine, with decades more experience and a more stable mindset than students. It can be imagined how outstanding Jian's grades have been in the past year. Otherwise, Jian Qingyao would not have had this mood and personally took Jian to the exam. "You." Jian Lele was stabbed by Jianni like this, so angry that she couldn't even speak. Lin Jishan quickly stepped forward to comfort, glared angrily and said, "Xiaoyi, how do you talk to your sister? Is that how I usually teach you?" "Mom, I don't mean much. I just feel like my sister is currently in an important stage of finding a job and interning. I don't want to waste her time just because of my college entrance exam," he said. Jian Qingyao saw that Lin Jishan was going to scold Jian again, so he quickly stopped him and said, "All right, I'll send Xiao-yi over tomorrow. You all need to do your own business." After saying that, he went upstairs without hesitation. Seeing Jian Qingyao impatiently finish speaking and leave, Jian Lele's face suddenly darkened as she buried her head on Lin Jishan's shoulder, feeling a bit aggrieved. Lin Jishan looked at the red circles under Jian Lele's eyes and became angry. "Jian, how could you be so angry with your sister?" Seeing the eccentric appearance of Lin Jishan, the old hen protecting Jian Lele and the little chick, Jian became impatient with her, even giving her superficial face. This is like the face of a malicious stepmother, who has been annoyed by it for almost a year. What's wrong with me, Mom? Did I say something? I just rejected her. Can she blame me for her own glass heart? And her grades are so poor, what if it affects my performance? As soon as these words were spoken, Lin Jishan and Jian Lele felt their anger rising in clusters above their heads. What do you mean by that? Are you criticizing your sister's poor grades? Easy, haven't I taught you what brotherly respect and filial piety are? Lele usually treats you so well, is that how you treat your sister, Mom? After careful consideration, it seems that you haven't taught me what filial piety and friendship are in the 10 or 20 years before me, she said as she touched her chin briefly. As for Lele's kindness to me, do you mean that every time she does something wrong, it's always me who gets punished and scolded for her? Every time I play pranks on me, I cry and fight back. As long as she turns black and white with you and makes up nonsense, it's because I have a small stomach and don't understand etiquette. Every time when I didn't do anything, she would feel wronged and say some ambiguous things, just like I did all the wrong things in the world, and need you to blame me inexplicably. Hee, that's so good, I really can't bear it. Listening to the sarcastic tone of yin and yang in Jian's voice, Lin Jishan stood up with a whimper and said, "What attitude are you taking?" Lin Jishan originally thought that Jian would lower her head and leave the room just like before when she said a few words. However, she didn't expect that Jian would talk to her like this, and her anger burned fiercely in her heart. Is there still her mother in her heart attitude towards stepmother? I didn't want to argue with them anymore, so I coldly left with a sentence and easily turned around and left. She is here to do tasks and fulfill her original wishes. If she has time to argue with them here, it's better to go out and do more practical things. The tense 3-day college entrance examination quickly came to an end. After completing a small goal in one stage, Jian finally freed up his hands to develop his career and get things done. Over the past year, in addition to studying and frequently going out with friends every day, Jian also relied on the stock trading skills he learned in his previous life. With $1 million allowance given by Jian Qingyao, he invested in short-term speculation and several popular online dramas. Compared to other ways of making money, the speed at which money is generated is still particularly fast. With just 200,000 yuan of pocket money per month, it is easy to roll around in stocks and walk around in small web dramas. In just 1 year, the amount of money in hand has increased nearly 1,000 times. Now, Easy is also a little rich woman with a wealth of over 100 million. Regarding these investments, Jian Qingyao and Jian Wei did not take the initiative to talk to them, but they did not want to hide it. Her actions were not secretive, as long as Jian Qingyao wanted to, he could easily ask someone to investigate. As for whether he checked or not, I don't know for sure. Even if I know, it doesn't affect anything. Calculating the time, it was also time for Jian Wei to work for the Jian family. Jian Lele relied on the influence of the Jian family to enter the entertainment industry, conspired with her fiancé A to calculate the original identity, introduced the scumbag Zhao Luhua to the original owner, and ruined the original owner's life. Think about it, everyone feels so excited. In this life, she is not the original owner. She is really curious about these scumbags and women causing trouble in front of her. What will she do and whether she will directly kill them? Therefore, even if she dresses up so early, she just follows the rules and doesn't want to kill the scumbag first, hee. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Sisters Caught in True and False Gunpowder 9. As the daughter of a big shot, someone called to report the good news of being admitted to the top scorer in science in the Shanghai Stock Exchange without checking the simple college entrance examination results. After a year of hard work, I performed exceptionally well in the simplified college entrance examination and finally did not fall into the title of the former academic champion. Lin Jishan and Jian Lele were very surprised to see that Lin Jishan and Jian Lele could easily obtain the top scorer in the city's science department. They had been with the original owner for nearly 20 years and were very clear about their level. They thought that at most, Jian could get into a better first-class school, but they didn't expect that Jian would achieve such good results. It can be said that Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan have very good genes. Not to mention that the original owner, who has been at the forefront since childhood, is also a top scorer in the college entrance examination. However, Jian Lele is just someone who spends money to buy spots. For this reason, after the simplified college entrance examination scores were released, Lin Jishan and Jian Lele were often laughed at by other people who love to chew their tongues. When Lin Jishan knew that she had also achieved good results in the exam, her heart was conflicted. Both of her biological daughters have good grades, so theoretically she should be very happy as a mother, but in fact, Lin Jishan's mood is not so wonderful. Jian Wei returned after becoming the top scorer in the college entrance examination. She didn't pay much attention to Jian Lele since she was born, and it was precisely her two children who had not been taught by her. Their grades were better than those of Jian Lele, who had been pampered and carefully taught by her since childhood. Is it like those long-tongued women say, Lin Jishan is a woman with no eyes, extremely foolish? During this period of time, she had thought about what those cheap people outside had said, but psychologically, she found it difficult to accept her failure and did not want to admit it, which made her increasingly unhappy. Jian Lele on the second floor also had the same idea. Why did one or two of them have to do so well in the exam, causing her to be laughed at by so many people? Jian Lele was so angry that she grabbed the pillow on the bed and threw it hard on the bed. She dared not hit the objects in the room like before, even if it didn't go well. Now is a special time, and Jian Lele feels that Jian Qingyao has increasingly valued those two despicable people. As Jia Xingya said, she no longer has the capital to be stubborn. Perhaps she can follow Jia Xingya's advice and enter the entertainment industry, striving to achieve good results and show them to Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan, so that they don't say they can't give them face. After receiving the admission letter from Tsinghua University and hosting a thank-you banquet, Jian Qingyao simply refused the proposal to go abroad with friends during the summer vacation. Taking advantage of the fact that her freshman year had not yet started, she packed her luggage 3 times and went to her first-choice Tsinghua University to visit. As soon as she arrived in Yanjing, Jian Jianyao checked into the school she had discussed with Jian Qingyao before the college entrance examination, and Jian Qingyao gave her a villa to buy around Tsinghua University. According to her previous life's temperament, she rarely asked her parents to do anything for her. She wanted money, skills, and abilities, so she always tried her best to buy anything she wanted. She didn't care much about what her parents would give her, so it didn't matter if she had anything. But the original owner was very concerned. As soon as Jian Wei returned, her father transferred 2 million yuan to her and gave her several well-located shops and houses. In the end, Jian's company was also hers. From a young age, Jian Lele has received better treatment than her in the Jian family. Not to mention Jian Qingyao's love for Lin Jishan, but to mention that she is clearly not Jian Qingyao's daughter and has more things than her biological daughter, and has countless real estate under her name. And simple, except for that dowry, there was nothing else, and that dowry was given during the company's turmoil and the struggle with Jian Lele Ning's family. At that time, Jian Qingyao and Lin Jishan bought several properties, and all the cash in her hand was thrown into the project, so she didn't give anything to the original owner. Usually, Lin Jishan would bid for more jewelry than that. Since that's the case, it's just to cater to Lin Jishan and her daughter. She also needs to buckle down more things in Jian Qingyao's hand, or is that sentence not worth it? Should it be left to those who don't like her? Having a lifetime of entrepreneurial experience, I am very familiar with the future development trends of the country. When I was young, I was also fascinated and admired those skilled programmers for a period of time. Therefore, combining my interests and plans for future development, I did not hesitate to apply for a computer major when filling out the application form. It has been almost 2 months since the start of freshman year in the blink of an eye. In the past 2 months, in addition to adapting to the university life that he had never experienced before, Jian relied on capital and near water, relying on the tower to get the moon first. In the senior class, he recruited several talents with good computer skills. With the popularization of mobile phones and computers, people's acceptance and tolerance towards the internet are increasing day by day, and various network software is blooming everywhere on the market. However, Jian was also itching to see such a development and planned to participate in it. As soon as he entered, Jian Qingyao relied on his family's big business to buy an office building in a bustling commercial street. He dug up a very skilled assistant from Jian Qingyao's hand, allowing him to purchase the office finance and skilled personnel needed by the company. By the way, she also added several technical experts she had a good view of at school to her entrepreneurial team. In theory, a startup company doesn't need to have such a large scale at the beginning, but who would say it's easy to have a background and abundant wealth? Most people don't dare to touch Jian Qingyao for her face, and Jian is an experienced entrepreneur with the support she can afford to lose. Jian feels that standing on the shoulders of this giant and having more entrepreneurial experience than others, if she still can't succeed, she can really find a piece of tofu to bump into. And simplicity is troublesome. Since she has the confidence to succeed, she wants to solve the problem all at once, so as not to have to relocate the company if it succeeds in the future. Excuse me. Since the beginning of Jian's entrepreneurship, Jian rarely contacted her friends in Shanghai until Chen Yifei and others heard that Jian had started a technology company and came to Yanjing to visit. It was only then that Jian realized. Chen Yifei looked curiously at the Simple office and said, "Simple, tell me about you. Why did you quietly start such a big company?" "It's okay." It's okay, he said, feeling embarrassed and touching his nose. Chen Yifei looked as if she hadn't seen Jian's awkwardness and joked, "But Jian, you're too ungrateful. You haven't seen anyone since you started college. Can you tell me how many times I've been dating you? How long has it been since we last met?" Chen Yifei has a beloved heir brother above her, who doesn't carry any heavy burden. Apart from going to school, her daily life is just like Lin Jishan's. She invites friends to do SPAs, goes shopping, and plays around. Therefore, there is a lot of resentment towards Jian, a good friend who has repeatedly failed to make appointments. Looking at the young lady with her mouth curled up and an unhappy expression, she quickly changed the topic with a simple and humorous tone. "Alright, it's all my fault, isn't it, that I'm too busy to take care of it? I'm sure I won't be able to do it next time. Let me show you our company and introduce our newly developed software to you." Seeing Jian change the topic, Chen Yifei didn't insist either. She took Jian's arm and said without hesitation, "Lead the way." The software mentioned by Jian is developed by simply summarizing the advantages and disadvantages of the previous live broadcast software, taking its essence and discarding its dross. Yes, after careful consideration, Jian wants to be the first to develop a live streaming software that has not yet appeared. Quickly establish the company's reputation and establish a foothold through this new phenomenon. I believe that once a software is promoted, its performance will definitely not be inferior. Even Chen Yifei, who is not very interested in doing business, is very tempted to listen to it. "Xiaoyi, do you still lack funds? Do you need to invest?" Chen Yifei is not a fool. Influenced by her elder brother, she knows that speed is of great importance in war, and when opportunities come, she must seize them quickly. Chen Yifei's words happen to hit Jian's heart. Now that the product has been developed, we are waiting for it to be launched for marketing. At present, the company has not generated any benefits and is still in a stage of only going out but not entering. It is easy to wait for wealthy tycoons to join and promote the product in one go. Jian has great confidence in her live streaming software, but it is not difficult to imitate it. What others lack is just an idea, a person who eats crabs. Therefore, she does not want to be caught up in the market by other popular live streaming platforms due to insufficient promotion efforts. So, once the software is launched, this advertisement needs to be fierce and quickly gain popularity, making people think of Starlight when they think of live streaming in the future. During this period, it was easy because I had to invest, so I was very busy. Today, Chen Yifei's appearance can be said to be very timely. With the financial investment of Chen Yifei and other friends, as soon as Xingyao Live was launched, advertisements were widely promoted, and dozens of marketing plans were put into operation simultaneously. As soon as you open the headline homepage of various social media apps on your phone, as soon as you step out of your home, advertisements on various advertising stops, buses, and TV news are everywhere. The amount of publicity and the amount of money spent are so great that even the richest man, Mr. Jian Qingyao, frequently looks down on him. Fortunately, the money was spent, but the effect was significant. On the first day of the launch of Xingyao Live, the user index reached several million, and in the first month of its launch, the user index was nearly 100 million. At 12 o'clock in the morning, Jian and several executives who had been monitoring the company for a month went crazy when they saw the back-end data, shouting for a salary increase, a holiday, and a celebration banquet. At this exciting and joyful moment, Jian didn't hesitate and waved his hand, saying, "This month's salary has doubled. I will treat you to the celebration banquet at the Five Emperors Hotel this week, and each person will take 2 days off with pay. I know everyone has been working hard lately. Alright, everyone, hurry up and go back to rest. Come back tomorrow afternoon after you've had enough sleep." Upon hearing that the boss was so generous and gave them a half-day off, several executives were delighted and their mouths were wide open. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Sisters who have been bombarded with real and fake cannon fodder 10. After a month of development, the download volume of the live streaming platform has exceeded 100 million, with a live streaming audience of up to 1 million. The average daily user time is nearly 3 hours, and the platform's revenue has exceeded 10 million. Now Chengwang Technology Company, Limited has become completely famous, and the decision-maker Jian has officially entered the eyes of various big shots, having his own name in the upper-class circle. It's not just Miss Jian anymore. The company is gradually getting back on track, and Jian Lele has finally freed up time to pay attention to people like Jian Lele. In the original story, at this time, Jian Wei entered the Jian family and was carefully taught by Jian Qingyao. Jian Lele relied on the power of the Jian family to thrive in the entertainment industry. And in this life, with the flapping of the wings of this little butterfly, many things went off course. Jian Wei's life was not like the original plot. Jian Qingyao had an excellent daughter, Jian, and felt that there was someone to follow. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to cultivate and teach Jian Wei. After Jian Wei entered the company, he threw her in the position of a small project manager and let her struggle. As a highly intelligent talent, although she has excellent personal business abilities, she does not have excessive management skills. Without the support of Jian Qingyao, Jian Wei was immediately assigned to the position of manager upon entering the company. Many people who do not understand the situation are very angry about this, and many of her work arrangements are flattering and contradictory, leading to Jian Wei's daily anxiety and career difficulties. Jian Lele did not become a popular celebrity like in the original plot, admired by countless fans. Instead, due to Jian Wei's excellence and anxiety, she would run to the Ning family whenever she had time, fearing that Ning Jiazhen would dislike her and not become the young lady of the Ning family. She faded out of the upper-class circle and was thrown back into her original form with nothing. So now, at best, Jian Lele is just a somewhat famous second-tier actress. I put down the materials and briefly moved around, but my shoulders became stiff from maintaining a posture for a long time. To be honest, regarding Jian Wei and Jian Lele's current situation, Jian is somewhat speechless. This situation caught her off guard, but it is reasonable. What surprised her the most was Jian Qingyao, his original father. In the plot, Jian Qingyao didn't pay much attention to his daughter, Jian. Often, it can be said that he assumed that Lin Jishan and Jian Leilei were bullying her, or it can also be said that she didn't care about the original owner. She was bullied and excluded from the family for a long time without being noticed. There was also some father-daughter affection towards the original owner, otherwise he wouldn't have begged him after the original owner got married under the instigation of Jian Leilei and Zhao Luhua. Jian Qingyao arranged for Zhao Luhua to hold a relatively small management position in the Jian family, and at that time, there were some hidden troubles in the Jian family. But based on the examples of the original owner from childhood to adulthood and his tragic death in the end, this emotion is certainly not much. After all, in the original plot, Jian Qingyao always valued Jian Wei. Looking at the various actions of Jian Qingyao in the materials, I couldn't help but sigh, how different the thoughts of men and women are. Jian Qingyao, like Lin Jishan, clearly had a stronger preference for Jian Leilei when the original owner was young. In this way, from the original plot, Jian Wei, who had excellent academic performance and was more stable and excellent than the original protagonist Jian Leilei, returned. Jian Qingyao's focus was more on Jian Wei, this excellent heir. In this life, whether it's grades, interpersonal skills, or the success of the morning light, simplicity makes it difficult for people to comment. So Jian Qingyao is more rational, doing many things that didn't happen in the original plot, putting interests first, and valuing whoever has more skills. But Lin Jishan is more emotional. Whether in the plot or in this life, no matter how excellent the simplicity is now, her attitude towards simplicity is at most superficial. No matter how successful Jian Wei and Jian Leilei are, they still love them sincerely. Simply put, even if she has been someone else's mother and lived several decades longer than others, she still cannot understand their thoughts. The company is gradually getting back on track, and after successfully financing and going public, Jenny has new ideas for the next projects that the company needs to develop. With the funds in hand, the entire office building that was purchased was also arranged by Jenny. Excluding the reception hall on the first floor, a high-end Western restaurant has been opened on the second floor, a fitness club has been opened on the third floor, and a rest and activity area for company employees has been created on the fourth floor. Furthermore, the office area has been clearly arranged. In just 2 years, people's acceptance of live streaming has become increasingly high, and live streaming has become a very rare and ordinary thing in people's lives. Despite the frequent emergence of various live streaming software in the world, when it comes to live streaming, what people most recognize in their hearts is still Starlight Live. In the field of live streaming software, Chengwang Technology Company, Limited can be said to be a giant, and the company's scale is also incomparable. On that day, Jian Leilei returned to the office with his team just after they had finished discussing the new project's short video software. He heard his assistant say that Jian Leilei wanted to see her. It's not surprising that Jian Leilei often contacted her as early as a month ago and wanted to meet her. With a casual thought, Jian Leilei guessed the reason why she wanted to see her. It's nothing more than trying to push Zhao Luhua, this scumbag, to her and seize her company. Unexpectedly, she hasn't implemented the plan yet, so Jian Leilei came to her door first. History is always astonishingly similar, and she is not the original owner. Even though her behavior and style over the years have gradually diverged from the original owner, Jian Leilei still wants to use Zhao Luhua's methods to harm her. "Sister, are you finished now? How about if we sisters go out for dinner after a while?" Jian Leilei rubbed in front of her and sat closer. To be honest, it's true that Jian Leilei has been in the entertainment industry for several years. Compared to before, her acting skills have clearly improved a lot. "Sure," replied the simple and indifferent person as they moved a little further away. Jian Leilei originally thought that Jian would refuse, but she suddenly agreed, "All right, hurry up and tidy up. Today, I'll treat you. You can tell me how long it's been since Big Sister returned and we haven't had dinner together." "Well, okay. Jian didn't talk nonsense to Jian Lele. As soon as Jian Lele asked for an invitation, she immediately accepted it. Coincidentally, she also wanted to meet that scumbag. Half full of food, Zhao Luhua appeared in front of Jian in a well-dressed suit, looking like a human. It's still the same cliché encounter, and in the plot, Jian Lele also got to know Zhao Luhua under Jian Lele's leadership. Apart from Jian Chengyao, the original protagonist was also at the age of a young man named Muai. Due to personality reasons, he did not have many opposite-sex friends and did not have close contact with men in college. Therefore, the original protagonist always had a beautiful longing for men. A good first impression, Zhao Luhua's fierce pursuit, and Jian Lele's various matchups quickly led the original owner into a trap of being fabricated. Looking at Zhao Luhua, who seemed to have met Jian Lele by chance and warmly chatted with her as Jian Lele's younger sister, a hint of mockery flashed in Jian's eyes. Is it a male trap? Very good. Sister, your friend is so inexplicable and sleazy. Even though it's our first time meeting, why is he so enthusiastic? Doesn't he feel embarrassed? His face is so thick. Stood up slightly and whispered to Jian Lele. Jian Lele said, Zhao Luhua. Miss, do you dare to speak quietly louder? Zhao Luhua didn't expect Jian to say that, and his face felt hot and spicy. Previously, when she heard Jian Lele's description, she thought it was easy to take it down. Now, with her words, the atmosphere has calmed down for a few seconds. After a while, Zhao Luhua finally realized and pretended that nothing had happened. He stood up and picked up the teapot, adding some music to the simple music. Well, this soup is good. Give it a try. I remember you liked to drink soup when you were a child. Jian Lele coughed lightly to ease her embarrassment, picked up the empty bowl that Jian had placed aside, and stood up to serve Jian some. Jian looked at the fish soup in the bowl and said with a half smile, Thank you, sister. But sister, are you mistaken? How can I remember that I didn't really like drinking soup since I was young? Sister, did you remember wrong? Jian Lele's mouth twitched and he said, Is that right? Maybe it's really my sister's mistake. Yes, sister. The person who likes to drink soup has always been my sister. Under my sister's care, she has never had anything she likes since she was young. Whenever she has something good in her hand, she will immediately hand it over to her sister to keep it for me. Sister, don't you know if my things are still there? Jian Lele asked with a smile on his face. Jian Lele twisted her body uneasily, not knowing what was going on. The simple smile just now made her feel a little uneasy. Jian Lele remained silent and said nonchalantly, It's okay, sister. Just keep those things that you like. Although I don't like them anymore, I have a new hobby in my hand now. But they can win the love of my sister, and she is still very happy. I will give all those things to her as a token of her love for me from a young age. What do you mean? Jian Lele became unhappy for a moment. What does she mean by giving her something she didn't want? Will she lack this thing? When she was a child, she always went to grab her things, but she didn't want her parents' attention to be easily distracted, let alone those things were not worth anything to her. And, what does she mean by that? Are you saying she's not good enough for her? She hasn't bullied her much in recent years, hasn't she? Why does she hold such grudges and have such a small heart? When Zhao Luhua saw the tension between the two sisters, he quickly changed the topic and said, Well, Xiao Yi, come and try this shrimp. It's delicious. Looking at the shrimp in the bowl with a simple and sinister expression, I couldn't help but feel a bit nauseous. Mr. Zhao, I'm not very familiar with you, do you often pick up food for girls we meet for the first time like this? Zhao Luhua choked on Jian and his face immediately darkened. Mr. Zhao, as a gift for meeting, let me give you a suggestion. In the future, when you see a girl, remember to have a thinner skin. Not all girls like being courteous by an unattractive boy like this. Picked up a napkin and gently wiped the corners of his mouth, picked up his handbag, and elegantly left. I didn't go to see the faces of the two people in the private room again. End of this chapter.